Hi, I'm Jeff Goulding and I'm a Liverpool author.
And I'm Kieran Smith, the Liverpool historian.
Together, we've been working on a great new project, which is a book out later this year entitled The Untouchables, Anfield's Band of Brothers.
It's a great story about one of the greatest sides in Liverpool's history who won back-to-back titles in the 1920s.
Yeah, this is a team that is absolutely packed with incredible characters. Men who fought on the battlefields of Europe in the First World War and returned home to claim 2 league titles in a row.
And it's due for release in the UK in September. And thanks to our friendship now with the Liverpool Connection podcast, it's also going to be made available through them in the United States at the same time.
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Connection podcast. I am Daz. I've got my co-host Steve, who just finished a football game and lost, but he has a nice cold beer for him. So I guess he's a winner in the end. I am so happy, truly happy to have our next guest. It's taken us a while to get him on, but you know, some things are worth waiting for, and he's definitely worth waiting for. So I want to give a bit of a clue to the listeners. He's had a 14-year career for the Reds, 628 games. That's quite a bit, and debuted 29th of August, 1981. And if you don't know who that is, pick up a history book, a Liverpool history book, and check the stats. It's Mr. Bruce Grobbelaar. How are you?
How are you doing there, Darren? It's fantastic to be on your podcast in the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
It took us a long time. I'm very sorry that I skipped the other ones, but here we are.
Well, like I said, you know, in the end, we've got you, and that's what counts, really. I'm sorry I don't have, like the pyrotechnics going off in the background.
Listen, don't worry. I come from Africa. We didn't have pyrotechnics in those days, and we certainly don't need them now.
That's true, yeah. Well, anyway, my friend, let's start from the beginning. When did you know you wanted to be a goalkeeper?
Darren, it was when I was 7 years of age. Well, even before that. Can you imagine that my mother had these 2 kids, one a girl 2 years older than me, and then she used to play hockey, and my sister was a little bit older than me, so she could sit in the dugout of the hockey field, and my father had to take me, and I was one of those naughty little kids who used to run around the field or run onto the field while the game's going on. So he devised the poles behind his goal, and he banged them in with a hammer each side of the goal, and then he tethered me to these poles, so I could only go 5 meters forward, 5 meters backwards. And that's where I learned to watch my father play in goal. And so that's where it started. At 14 years of age, I signed my first contract for an all-white team who play in the Black League in Africa. It was revolutionary in that time because of the white-black, it doesn't work. Salisbury Callies said that they won't play in the White League because they had won everything. So they wanted to put themselves against the African League. So they asked the league, and the league said yes. So we went into the townships. And it was to learn the African culture at that time. And it was revolutionary in Africa. No other team ever did that. Certainly not in South Africa, where apartheid was prevalent. Rhodesia, it wasn't. We helped. We learned the African culture, and that spread north, and that's how football spread north, with the white people and the black people playing together.
How it should be, I'll bring Steve in to say hello.
Hello, hey, Brucey. We were speaking before we started recording. Obviously, it's good to see you again. You look great. And on behalf of all the people in Austin, I'm the president of the Supporters Club. You came to visit us for one of our very earliest Legends nights, and people still have fond memories of that day. And hopefully, we can get you back to have a return appearance for our Supporters Club. We've grown so much since then. So. I'm very honored to be speaking with you now.
Steve, it's an honor and a privilege to be on this Zoom call with you. My time in Austin, and what they called was the Texas Triangle that we went on. You know, it's Houston. Sorry, we went to Dallas, Austin, and then Houston, and it was fantastic. But the most fun time that I ever had in Texas, and I'm going to tell you this, it was in Austin. And that the pub that we went in, it was fantastic. People were so friendly, and what a nice place. And it's great to see that Austin Bold are up in there in the MLS, and I hope that the Austin Bold do you proud.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we do have the Austin Bold, which is done the USL, but then the Austin FC for MLS.
Oh, Austin FC, yes.
Yeah, but we're super excited to go from having, very minimal professional soccer here in Austin to now having, two top tier teams, and the cities behind it. I think if you come back, you probably wouldn't even recognize the city that much because it's grown. And our Supporters Club now is over 300 paid members, so we're rocking and rolling. But this show is about you, and I wanted to ask you, one of the things that I remember reading is that you were offered baseball scholarships to come play in college in the United States, and I thought that was very interesting because how did you, what position would you have been playing, and how were you found to be offered a scholarship to play baseball in the United States?
Well, Steve, what happened was in Africa, we play all the sports. So in the winter, we play rugby and football. And in the summer, we play cricket and baseball. And I played 3 sports for my country in, the old Rhodesia, Zimbabwe today. I played cricket under 13, 14, and under 13, 14, 15. And I played baseball under 13, 14, 15, 16. Football, I played Rhodesian under 14, 16s and senior level. And rugby, I didn't, because they told me that I shouldn't be playing a contact sport if I'm signing a contract with in football, in any other sport. But the baseball was very prevalent because I was a pitcher and I used to catch for another person who I knew from my club. So I was a pitcher and a catcher. And when none of us were pitching or catching, I used to play shortstop.
Okay.
So I was a utility, but pitching was the one that they offered me a scholarship for. And that was for North Adams State College in Massachusetts, up in Boston. So in the end, they asked me, do you want to go? And I just come out of the army and I went, no, I'm going to go with the football because I've already signed a contract. So it was one of those. The scales had turned for football because of the previous contracts that I had with the football. I never knew what I was going to get into. If I had gone to the United States, I'd have to go back to college. And because I'd been out in the army for 2 years and then thinking that I'm going to go back to college, it just did my head in, and I just stuck with the football and the soccer, and that's where I ended up.
Sorry about that.
Carry on.
No, I was just saying my wife was very excited that you were coming on because she was in the Peace Corps in Rhodesia before it was Zimbabwe. So she was very excited because she always has great things to say about the country and the people there. So She was very excited that you were coming on. I wanted to ask you because if I remember correctly, you played in Vancouver for a little bit, right? That was your first foray into being a professional keeper. Is that right?
Yeah, well, yes and no. Salisbury Kelly's in Rhodesia. Then I went to South Africa for Durban City. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I left Durban was because my birthplace was Durban, South Africa. Mm-hmm. I've done a 2-year stint in the army in Rhodesia, and because of my birthplace, South Africa said that if I stay there 2 years, I'm going to get called up into the army. Mm-hmm. And I said to a friend of mine that I was staying with, this is not going to happen because I'm out of here. There's not a reason why I want to be in an army in the war anymore. So he said, don't worry. He got a ticket for me to go to West Bromwich Albion in mm-hmm. UK. From there, I went to Vancouver, and that was in Vancouver with Tony Waiters mm-hmm. that everything happened.
Can you imagine just the growth of, the soccer in North America from when you played there in Vancouver to what you see these days and the continued progression of the game here in North America?
North American Soccer League, when I played, was the catalyst of what you have got now. Mm-hmm. And what we had then didn't sustain it for a long time because it actually imploded. Mm-hmm. And then someone brought it up like a mushroom and put it into place. And what you've got in North America is probably, in my eyes, the best concept for an organization where you don't pay the big players that huge amount of money. You've got a standard. So you've got a pro who plays for an American, their team, and they can only earn 2 times the top salary, but they can get the royalties from sales from the shirts and everything. And I think that model, what they've got in North America, is what's going to sustain the North American and the MLS to the highest level, because certainly in this country, in Europe, and in European teams, and in England, there are teams that are in debt, and so much debt. So you look at the model that we had in the early days, it imploded. Someone came out and pushed it up. The mushroom has come up. And now if you have a look at in North America, the MLS, the USL, and the USL2, mm-hmm. those are the ones that are going to sustain that North American area. And it's a fantastic idea.
It's crazy to think that just the buy-in for a new MLS franchise is $150 million, and to think, 10 years ago where the game was and to where it is. But yeah, so we're all interested in seeing it, and we're whether you're an expat or somebody from Austin or somebody that just moved to Texas, having a homegrown team is you can't compare it because Daz had grown up and formerly, having Liverpool there his whole life, you kind of take it for granted. That's how it's supposed to be. But but now people that are getting from the ground level this year with Austin FC, it's amazing. So yeah, we appreciate the insight on that for sure.
Well, just wait until the MLS and the USL come to an agreement with the relegation and the promotion. You could mm-hmm. get 2 Austin teams in the MLS.
Yeah.
So that will create a whole new buzz for the city, and especially in your triangle where mm-hmm. Dallas has got a team. They haven't got a USL team. Mm-hmm. Houston has got a team. They haven't got a USL team. So they'll be looking to push to get those other teams in as quick as possible.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. So we'll quit boring Daz with the MLS talk. Let's talk about how you got to Liverpool. How was that the interaction to get you there? Or did you always think that that's where you were going to end up? Playing for such a at that time such an awesome team. That was.
Steve, what happened was I went from Vancouver back to Crewe. I played 24 games for Crewe. And then in the end, the very last game of the season, the manager, Tony Waddington, comes to me and he said, listen, today, you've got two very important people coming to see you. Please don't do something silly. Okay, all right. So I went out and did my mumbo jumbo in the warm up, like swinging on the crossbars and, hanging upside down on the crossbar and waiting for them to shoot, and you jump down and then you catch it. And then the end of the warm up, I ran into the dressing room to see the manager, Tony Waddington, going like this. I said, what's the matter? He said, those two people, those very important people that came to watch you play. I said, what do you mean they came? He says, yes, they've gone to watch Stoke City play Port Vale now. So they only watched 20 minutes. So I thought this was dead. 6 weeks later in Vancouver, Tony Waiters comes to me. He says, listen, have you got anything that you need to ship to the UK? I said, why? He said, because I've just sold you to Liverpool for £250,000. And I went, no, I don't. He says, well, you better get started because you're going tonight. Now, I pack my bags and I get on the plane. I see my ticket. It says Heathrow Airport. Travel to Heathrow Airport. And when you come out with your trolley and you're looking at the names, there's no Grobbelaar there. So I go to the phone Liverpool Football Club. May I speak to Mr. Paisley? I get through to Mr. Paisley. I said, Mr. Paisley, it's Bruce Grobbelaar. I'm at Heathrow Airport. And he turned around and he said, do you know where Manchester is? And he puts the phone down. Okay. How do I get to Manchester? They say fly. Okay, I flew to Manchester. 36 miles down the road, Manchester. You think someone's going to come pick me up. Walk through there, no names of Grobbelaar. Go to the phone up. I get the secretary. She says, I've got a message for you. Do you know where Liverpool is? And puts the phone down. Get in a vehicle, because I asked, how do you get to Liverpool? You can go bus, you can go hitchhike, you can go by train. Best way is to get a vehicle. So I hired a vehicle into Liverpool. I don't know where I'm going. Nowadays, you got a big circle of a football, on the sign. They didn't have any of those in those days. So when I went into the city, I saw this whole line of black cabs. And then I remember what my mother said. She said, the people that know everywhere in the city, in the area, are the black cab drivers. So I went and knocked on the window. He rolled down the window and he said, oh, yes, lad, what do you want? I said, do you know where Anfield is? And he went, do I know where Anfield is? Of course I do, dickhead. And I went, whoa. He said, jump in. I said, whoa, I've got a car. He said, well, then you better follow me, head. So I followed him to Liverpool, to Anfield. I get there. It's 4:45 in the afternoon. The gates are shut. So I knock on the window and I said, listen, thank you very much. He says, that'll be £5. And now, I don't know. I'm not going to stay there in Anfield in those days, because I'll tell you what, Anfield was not the salubrious place that you think it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was a right, hole.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get back into town to try and get a hotel. Pay him £5, off he goes. Another car goes in between. I'm following him just, from afar. Not so close that he stops and says, wait, I want my £5, showing you back to town. I get back into town. I go to all of the hotels, this hotel. I know, where's the next hotel? Go to the next hotel. Bang, I've gone all around the place. And Darren, I walked into a place because it looked, there was a little side street, and on the window it said vacancies. So I parked my vehicle and walked into the Beehive. And I said to the barman, have you got any rooms for tonight? He says, rooms. I said, yes, you've got a sign on the called vacancies. I thought that was a room. He says, no, that's for a barman. He says, try Alcatraz across the road. I said, Alcatraz. He said, yes, the Adelphi Hotel. So I went across the road, pushed those lovely doors, Darren, those nice swing wooden circular things. On the right-hand side, lovely leather couches. I took no notice of them. Went round the left, got to the counter. I said to the young lady, excuse me, have you got any rooms for tonight? She said, no, sorry, we're full. And as I turned around to go out, I noticed Tom Saunders, our scout, giving Bob Paisley a £1 note saying, I never thought he would get here. So I came to Liverpool on a £1 note bet. And that's how I came to Liverpool.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bruce, if the goalkeeping didn't take off, you'd have the vacancy and be a barman.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I don't know about that.
Pulling pipe.
Oh,
What a great story. Just for the pound.
hey, 100% true.
Is that what Bob was like, though?
Well, Bob Paisley had a bet with Tom Saunders that I would get there because I was in the military. Tom Saunders said, nah, he thinks he's just signed for a big club and, he'll expect someone to come pick him up. So they had a bet that way. And Tom Saunders actually said before he passed away, he said, you know what, you cost me £1, son. And I came to Portsmouth, and he told me all the places that he came to watch me play previous to that. So, yeah.
Well, did you give him his £1 back?
No, I took him out for a meal. It was more than £1, for goodness sake.
I wanted to ask Bruce, like, obviously coming into Liverpool, Ray Clemence, who I'm sure you heard of before you'd even stepped foot in Liverpool, one of the greatest goalkeepers, not just for Liverpool, that you had to step into his boots after 5-6 months, and you were kind of thrown. I know you had a couple of reserve games, and then you were three. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you were thrown to the Wolves, straight in, which you must have been crapping yourself.
Let me tell you, I came to Liverpool, and you begin to wonder why Bob Paisley actually wanted to sign me, and it's all unveiled. It's all been a journey that unveiled itself. I came to Liverpool, and I was supposed to take over, which I did. The best goalkeeper in the world, Liverpool's best keeper, bar none, to this date. And, you think daunting, yes, it was. But when he actually left, Bob Paisley just threw me in to Steve Grizovich's disgust, and he didn't like it. So I was in a dilemma, because in the cup final in Paris, Bob Paisley was, after the 3 games that I played in the reserves, and 3 games when the home games was Steve Grizovich, the away games with me. And then when he came out and he said, listen, this is the team, said the first team, and then he said, and on the bench, Grobbelaar, and he went through the rest. And Steve Grizovich was very, 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 very upset. Just hold on 1 minute, please. Right, now we're back to power. Steve Grizovich was very, very upset, and so he went to go and see Bob Paisley. And that's what things you don't do. You never go down there and knock on Bob Paisley's door to say, listen, boss, can I see you? He's the one that wants to see you. And so he said to Phil Thompson at the time, I'm going to go and see Bob Paisley. And Phil Thompson said, what for? He said, because I should be playing in the first team. Because Ray Clemence are gone now. Well, it didn't happen that way, because when he went down there, Bob Paisley said to him, yeah, what do you want? He said, I should be playing every week, week in, week out, starting from next week. Bob Paisley says, no, don't start next week. You can do it 2 weeks' time, because I've just swapped you for a goalkeeper from Shrewsbury Town in Bob Waddle. So you better get your bags and pack and get out of here. And that's how brutal they were. But when I took over from Ray Clemence, the team knew Ray Clemence just like a foot with a sock. And when I came on, it was like taking the sock off, and there's a bare feet, and they're walking bare feet on the ground. And it's one of those eggshell time, because I did things differently. I used to come out right on the edge of my area, which Ray Clemence used to, but give them fair warning. I didn't. I just was a silent assassin. And that's when Tomo turned around to me and said, listen, either you tell us you're coming so we can save your bacon in the goal, otherwise you're on your own, which was the learning experience. The first 6 months at Liverpool was horrendous.
I was going to ask you that, Bruce.
After the Boxing Day game against Manchester City, when we lost 3-1, Bob Paisley came into the dressing room and he called me, and you never want him to come in and say, point at you in the dressing room and say, come down to the office. And that's what he did with me. So I went down the office. He said, how do you think you played for the first 6 months? And I said, well, maybe I could have played better. He said, yeah, you better play better, otherwise you find yourself back at Crewe. Mm-hmm. And that was the trigger in my head. Bang. No more walking on my hands. The only time I walked on my hands from then until I finished playing is if we scored a goal that I thought was great. I used to walk on my hands. And that was it. And we went from then 13th place in the league, 13 points behind first place, when it was only 2 points for a win and 1 point for a draw. And we won it on the Saturday by 3 points with a game to spare. And that's for me, the 82, 83 team, the 80s, 88, 89 team were probably the two best teams I've ever played with at Liverpool.
Bruce, I was going to ask you because, taking over from Clemence and, having met him here in Texas when he came on his tour, you guys are, admittedly different personalities, in life and also on the football pitch. And having joined that team that was so established and so successful, there had to have been, like you were mentioning, a transition period for them to get to know you on how you played and how you acted in the boot room, and in just vis-a-vis versus Clemence. I would imagine that there was some give and take and feeling each other out, because there were some big characters in that dressing room when you joined the team, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. They used to have the English mafia, which was all the England internationals. Then you had the Scottish mafia, and then you had the you the rest. You haven't played for your country, or you play for an African country or an Australian country or the Irish. Yeah, you can go that side. So, and it was a great banter. Even the Welsh was on the our side, the nuns. So there were three groups, and the groups were the ones that the Scottish mafia and the English mafia thought, well, we'll get hold of this lot. And it was with myself, Craig Johnson, Ronnie Whelan, Ian Rush, Kevin Sheedy, and all those guys. That Avi Cohen at the time, Israeli. So they used to try and have a go at us. But we fought back. Craig Johnson, myself, we said, no, we're not having any of this. Ronnie Whelan, I said, hey, listen, you're Irish. You have a little backbone and have a go at them. And so we used to have a go back at them. And that was the banter that we had in the dressing room. It was the three factions. It was like, it's like, like Brexit and Europe and whatever. And then we were just back and forward at each other. So with Ray Clemence pulled myself aside, and he said, listen, there will be a time when I'm going to be leaving here, and you have to be on your very best, because if you're not, they're going to get rid of you. And that was the one thing that I kept in my mind. And when he left, it was a shock, because it was straight after the Paris final, where he decided that he's off. And he told me the story why. He said that he sat in the dressing room after the Paris final, having a look at all the guys jumping up and down and singing, and he sat there looking at them, thinking, well, this is my third time winning this prestigious cup, and it cannot get better than this. And these guys that have won it, they're probably the first and the second time. And he thought, well, anything I do from now on might be going downhill if I stay here. So he decided then in the dressing room that he wanted to go to another team and try and help them do the same. And that's why he decided, and he left.
And went to Spurs.
And he went to Spurs, and the very first cup final that I played against him was the League Cup at Wembley against him. And Ronnie Whelan scored twice.
Bruce, we'd be remiss if we didn't, allow our listeners and viewers to hear a few stories about the European finals. A lot of people will remember you for that. Can you bring us some backstory on how you were feeling going into that game? Obviously, there's a lot of controversy heading into the match, and then just how it all unfolded for you.
Yeah, listen, we were there in Rome. We traveled, and it was a beautiful place that we were in. The hotel was great, and then going to training, we had little snippets when we were going to training in the Olympic Stadium. When we were driving through the tunnel, we heard this little clank, 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 clank on the bus, and we looked up on the side, up on the hill, and there were people throwing little pebbles and rocks, and we're just going there for training. So we thought nothing of it. We trained there in the Olympic Stadium. Off we went. We came back, and then the day of the game, we're driving there with a motor cage, all the police bikes, and it's just chock-a-block. And the bus driver, 3 directors, the coaching staff, and all the players, before we got in the stadium, we were stoned. And it wasn't by smoking anything or taking anything. It was and they weren't pebbles now. They were rocks and bricks coming through the windows of the bus. So we knew that we were in a hostile place. And everything unfolded. We went onto the pitch. Italians throwing cans of beer. And so we went around our own play, our players, our fans on the other side and waved. We got into the dressing room, got changed, went out for a warm-up, came back. When we were just about to go out, the whistle went just like that. We went into the corridor, and the Italians didn't come out. So someone sparked up. I think it was soon as he said to Sammy Lee and David Hodgson and Craig Johnson, listen, you guys played at Middlesbrough. What's that fella there, that the singer, songwriter, Chris Rea? Oh, yeah, Chris Rea. Well, let's sing a song to warm up. So it was, I don't know what it is, but I love it. I don't know what it is, but I want it to stay, and I love it, love it. So we were warming up like, I don't know what it is, but I love it, kicking the high feet. I don't know what it is, but I want it to stay. And someone smacked the door of the Italian dressing room. And yes, the Italian captain opened it up, and we were singing this song. And soon they said to us, listen, don't mind them. When they come out, just look at them in the eye and carry on singing. So you can imagine, you're looking at them. I don't know what it is, but I love it. They thought we were crazy. We went onto the field. We drew 1-1. Extra time, no goals. And then it comes down to the little huddle. Smoking Joe's like that. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you who's going to go first. Go through it again. Phil Neal first, Stevie Nichols second, Souness, yes, third. Rashi fourth, and he points to the side, and Dalglish, you take the fifth. To which Kenny says, listen, boss, you substituted me in the 86th minute. God, he's now got another fag, and he's got the two fags. Oh, well, who came on for you? He looks around. There's the guy lying on his back. Michael Robinson. You've been on the field 8 minutes and you've got cramp. He looks at Sammy Lee. He's looking for Sammy Lee. Didn't find him because when the grass grows 118 minutes, the grass is a little taller. Sammy is trying to climb. And in the end, there were 2 people, myself and Alan Kennedy. He looks at me. He looks at Alan Kennedy. He says, Bruce, you take in the 5th penalty. But that never happened. Because when we started, right, there goes the coin, boom, up, down, Liverpool in the Rome end. Phil Neal now is taking off his boots. He's now putting them back on, tying them nicely. And Stevie Nicol picks up the ball and goes into the box. Phil Neal says to the boss, "Excuse me, it should be me." He says, "Just let's run with it." Stevie Nicol misses. I start going toward the goal. I get this arm around me. I didn't have to look up because I could smell the cigarette. And all he said was, "Listen, son, we've done the business today. We shouldn't be in this position. And nobody is ever going to blame you, oh God, if you can't stop a ball from 12 yards. And I just heard this blame word. And then I heard him say, "If you can't stop a ball from 12." I went, "Woo, thank you, boss." And off I went. 2 paces away, he says, "But try and put them off." And that's what stuck in my head. So when I got onto the first penalty, I was thinking to myself, I should stay here because he's just as nervous and it's going to come just around here. But then I was thinking, what does he mean by try and put them off? So I did this and I went right and the ball came straight down the middle, clipped my fingers, went in the back of the net. And I thought, how dumb are you? You should have just stuck with the instinct. Phil Neal finishes tying his bootlaces. He sticks the next one in. And then Bruno Conte comes. And he went like this, as if he's dancing. And you could almost hear him singing to himself, "I'm Bruno Conte. I crossed the ball for Ruzzo to score. And now I'm going to score a penalty." So I just jumped up and I went like this. Can you see me?
Yeah.
On the line. And he went, yeah. So when he went up again, I went like this. He took 2 paces and he blasted the ball over the top of the bar. So I thought, well, I might work. Souness hit the one in the top corner. The next penalty taker was Rigoletti. I went, "Oh, come on, Rigoletti. That'll do me." 2 days ago, I was watching you and a couple of others take penalty after penalty in the same stadium, same corner, every single time. Come on. Yeah, you're going to make my day. As he came up to kick the ball, I went, "Toom," top right. I looked over, it went top left. And then when I came off the deck and I looked at the stadium properly, I remembered that I was watching him 2 days ago from the other side of the stadium. Well, Rashi comes up and he puts the ball in, and then comes Graziani. And Graziani picked up the ball a long, long way away, and he comes in. And that's when I came in like this with the wobbly legs. You know, remember those ones where I went, "Oh, I'll get on that one." Yeah. Here we go. And I was doing that, and he looked at me, he crossed himself, and then remembering that he had to turn the stadium around because he was the second penalty taker, I knew it was coming bottom right. And I went early, he changed his mind, kicked, and he hit the bar, went over, and I went round the field jumping up and down for joy. You little beauty. Forgetting that I had to take the 5th penalty. Yeah. Well, who did I see going into the box? Alan Kennedy. I said to the boss, "Listen, it should be me." He says, "If it takes you 15 seconds to get back here, you can suffer like the rest of us and watch him take the penalty." So we watched him, and Alan Kennedy, true to his form, he said, "I know where I'm going to put the ball, bottom right. He went and hit it so sweetly, top left, just like in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the 1981 final?
Mm-hmm.
Ray Kennedy on the side throwing to Kenny Dalglish, a bullet of a throw, but it never got there because it hit Alan Kennedy on his left shoulder looped over into the box, and he had to go down there. There's only one place for him to put it, bottom right, and he hit it top left there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Kennedy has got the unique thing. He has won us 2 European Cups for 2 missed hits in the European Cup finals.
You know, we've been very fortunate that he also came to Austin on one of our legend nights. You know, he's been on our podcast. I've had the luxury to play with him a couple of times in a Legends match over there in Liverpool. And and you never get tired of these stories. I mean, here we are, 40 years on, and we still want to hear these. And it's the insight that you're bringing, and it just gives me goosebumps again, and just hearing these stories again, for sure.
Listen, it gives me goosebumps just telling the story. The hairs on my neck stand up, because it's the iconic moments of football, and people, tend to think, well, yeah, you can tell one story and then tell it again, and it'll never be the same. It's not. You tell it because that's exactly how it happened.
Have you ever talked to Dudek about the whole, because obviously he did it in 2005. I
had the pleasure of playing with Jerzy Dudek out in Australia, and they took a Legends team there that spanned over 4 decades. So the oldest players was myself, John Aldridge, Alan Kennedy, and Phil Neal. Then we had the Carragers and the Schmitzes and and then we went to Jay and Oni Reese's, and then we went to who's the latest one, the youngster, Garcia, and all those.
Yeah.
And we had Fowler, McManaman, and everybody. So, and it was a brilliant tournament. And that's when I said to him, listen, what happened? He said, listen, Cara came up to me and said, do Brucey. And I don't know who Brucey is. So I said, who the fuck is Brucey? So you see, he said, no, Grobbelaar. And that's when I realized, do a Grobbelaar. And so Jerzy said, I did something that I could do that tried to emulate what you did. And I said, no, you didn't. You did completely different, because you did your own unique experience, because the laws had changed for goalkeepers at that time. I couldn't move my feet. So I had to do something until the ball was kicked. With Jerzy Dudek, he could go laterally across along the line, which he did. So it's quite strange, but it was just brilliant the way that he actually told me the story, how he executed it. I said to him, he looks like a starfish in a aerobics class. When he was like this. So, and he said, yes, you're right. I said, you better not go to Ukraine, because I don't think that they're happy with you.
Oh, go ahead, Daz. I'm sorry.
Dudek was closer to the penalty taker than he was the goal.
Yeah.
Well,
I've never seen that before.
Yes, I've seen that. The one where he came out, but didn't he have 2 feet on the line when he when he pushed off?
Yeah, sure. Hey, all I know is that I've seen some pictures of you, in your book. You have some pretty crazy fashion sense, but I don't think you're as crazy as Dudek, man. That guy just wears things that I don't think should go together.
Okay, all right. Well, fashion sense, I might be a little bit better than him.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, God. You got to love these stories, though. It goes from a generation of footballer to another, and you never know. In 10 years, somebody might do the Dudek.
Absolutely.
And it just gets passed down. But I watched you with my granddad at that European Cup final, and my granddad, because comes from the old school, was just like, what the bloody hell is he doing?
That's what the old school thought. And then when I did it, they went, oh,
it works.
He might have a point.
I've never seen my granddad jump so high in his life.
Yeah. I think the old school thought this guy never went to school.
Yeah, true.
This guy's a little crazy.
Yeah.
You did a book, and it came out 86, right?
85,
More Than Somewhat.
Yeah.
That was mostly about your footballing. I know this book is a bit more personal. About just your life outside of football.
Yeah.
Was it tough to get through?
Darren, what happened was the first book, More Than Somewhat, and then I brought out a little bit of a funny book called Bring on the Clown, around about 85 as well. Those two books got me into very big trouble with the Zimbabwean government, because in 1985, just after the Heysel disaster, my passport ran out, and I needed to get it renewed because I needed to go on holiday to the Cayman Islands. And so I went down to the Zimbabwe High Commission, and there was a chap there that was called Comrade Mudedi. Now, when I got there, he looked at me, he says, Bruce, where do I know you from? And I said, well, on the football field, obviously. He says, no, tell me the story. I said, well, if you really wanted to know, I captured you in Hondi Valley. You and Rex Nongo, which is the other fella. And he said, just hold on a minute. He went outside. He brought Rex Nongo into the Zimbabwe High Commission. And I said, yes, I captured you too. You were in the maize husks and you were in the other rondavel. And what I did is I made sure that you were taken back safely to the police, with the police. So I handed you over to the police and you left. And I said, about 2 kilometers away, didn't you hit a landmark? And he said, yes. And we both escaped. And I said, well, now I'm talking to you as the passport administrator. And he turned around to me and he said, yes, Uncle Bob says you're not getting your passport because you called us terrorists and guerrillas in the book. If you had called us freedom fighters, you would have had your book. So if you'd read my More Than Somewhat, it was always talking about terrorists and guerrillas. My new book, I've only mentioned terrorists once, and all the rest of the time I've mentioned them as freedom fighters. And that's the story why I never got my passport back. I had to get my South African passport back to go to Cayman Islands. And when on my return, Liverpool said to me, go to the British High Commission and get your British passport because you've been here 4 years and you've just married an English girl, so there's the passport.
The rest is
But you see, the thing is, Robin Mugabe took my passport away from me 3 times. Don't worry, not only once, my Zimbabwean one.
Hey, Bruce, as we are getting towards the end of our podcast, tell us what you're doing these days. What's keeping you occupied? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, what's on the horizon? I've joined a little club in Norway called Øygarden. They play in the third tier at the moment because they went down from the second tier to the third tier last year. And I've been with this team for this is my second season. But quite recently, I've been approached by Chris Anderson in the Caribbean. He wants me to head up a team called the Africa Ubuntu side to play in the Islands Cup. And the Islands Cup is kicking out poverty in sport. And it's bringing older players for me, it's got to be the African continent, to play with good little street kids and bringing them up. And they play because they're from the streets. So it's the older players bringing the youngsters and getting them, and all the money will go into that region. And we're trying to do it right through Africa. We're starting in the Equatorial Guinea, and we're going through the whole of the coast of Africa. So it's a project that Chris Anderson and myself met in 1978. He played for New York Cosmos and the Toronto Blizzard. He comes from Trinidad and Tobago, and it's the ISCO project, which is kicking poverty out of sport.
Well, the weather is a little bit different there than Norway, so you may want to
I know.
Let us know if we can come help you. We like the tropics.
Don't worry. If it's in the tropics, the Carolinas are coming into it as well, because the Carolinas got islands off the end. Miami, they thinking, so there's the Americas, they're going to try and do it, and the whole of the Caribbean, Mexico, South America have done it, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico. There's a whole bunch of people that are buying into it because it's kicking poverty out.
When you travel to those little countries like that, are you amazed at how many people are Liverpool fans? Because we had Peter Moore come to our pub a couple years ago, and he just was explaining how expansive the social media presence of Liverpool Club is now. The number one social media presence. But do you get them every once in a while? You're out there in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, there's people that are just Liverpool supporters.
Well, it's quite, and you must understand that I go with the corporate sponsors around the world that Liverpool send us to. So I went with Petro Canada lubricants, and I went to Shanghai in China, and it was their farewell song, closing up. Nice contract that they've had, corporate sponsorship with Liverpool, and it's quite interesting because the background of Petro Canada lubricants, they became a corporate sponsor for Liverpool, and then they were ending up their contract. And in the final meeting, I got up on the mic and I just put on the screen. I said, "You guys, Petro Canada, thank you very much for being such a great corporate sponsor with Liverpool Football Club. But what you've done in the 3 years that you have been our corporate sponsor has been amazing. Just to show you how appreciative we are as Liverpool. From the time that you started, this is how many people watched Liverpool. It was 45 million.
Wow.
Chinese. By the time you finished, it's 168 million Chinese watched Liverpool play when Liverpool are on the box. And I said, it doesn't stop there because it goes global. It goes to Australasia. It goes to the Philippines. It goes to Africa. And that same broadcast will get you even more. At the end of it, they signed for another 3 years. So, okay, we've done our job.
Cheers to that. You know, and that,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, you know, Daz and I, we're very, you know, we love this podcast because, you know, we're trying to bring stories that you don't normally hear or read about, and you know, even if you bring one extra fan to the club, you know, we're all about it. You know, we just want trying to expand the reach of Liverpool Football Club. So, you know, I appreciate talking to you.
No, listen, Steve. We've got a bird, and you've got it on your chest, and I've got it here.
Right.
There we go.
There you go.
I keep it with me every day because that's the bird that's with me at all times. And there's 3 little names on there, and those are my daughters. So on that bird, there's my 3 daughters as well. And it was a bird that I fell in love with in the army because it looked like a cormorant,
right,
in Africa. And so from there until now, that is a bird, and I've kept it with me all the time.
Yeah, I miss my bird.
Well, she's in the other room, isn't she?
Well, you know, the proper bird.
Well, when you come back to Liverpool, we'll take you where a little place that you can actually see the birds of the on the live buildings.
Nice.
Yeah, I just wanted to again thank you for coming on. You know, you're an amazing human being, and it's great to get the human element. You know, when you chat with people, we've kind of missed this over the past year because of the pandemic. You know,
listen, this last year and year and a half or 2 years has been horrific for everybody in the world. Although I'm going to say it very bluntly, it is something that people should actually take heed of because it is a killer, and people should be very, very aware of it.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You know, and on behalf of the Supporters Club here, we hope that we could bring you back and you can meet all the new members that we've gotten since you've been here last time. So,
Steve, if I come back, I'm going to bring my bats and I'm going to go and challenge any of you guys for a game of golf. Go on.
Let's do it. Hey, you know,
sure.
when Ronnie Whelan came here, I got to golf with him. So, yeah, let's go.
Ah, for sure. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, the last time I saw you, Bruce, was actually at the Doe, Austin, at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Walking, well, you weren't walking out of the bar. You were handstanding out of the bar.
Listen, Darren, my knees are short, so it's easier walking on my hands.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Well,
guys, it's been a fantastic podcast. Thank you very much indeed in the Zoom call. To all the listeners, please tell your friends that the live bird is the best bird that you'd ever want to follow, unless it's your wife or your girlfriend.
That's right.
And that is the only alternative bird you follow is Liverpool Football Club.
That's right.
Amen.
She'll make you cry, she'll make you laugh, and she'll make you fall in love. Definitely.
Absolutely. 100%.
But again, Bruce, I still want to tell everyone, you know, because there's a bunch of new fans that have, you know, come on board. You are still the most decorated Liverpool goalkeeper so far with, I mean, league titles 6, FA Cups 3, European Cup 1, yeah, and
FA Cup 3.
Yeah, FA Cup 3 and League Cup 3.
Yeah, and
that's some honours right there.
UEFA Cup 1, Super Cup 1, 5 charity shields.
That's right.
Now you're just bragging.
Listen,
it's okay.
It's going to be broken one day. Don't worry about that. And I cannot wait for it to be done.
What do you think of Alisson? Because
I think
does have some of his tricks that kind of went a bit wrong, and then Klopp got into them as well.
Listen, the first 6 months of myself being at Liverpool, yes, it was a baptism of fire. It's not unlike what I did in my formative years, but he's learned the Liverpool way now, and I think that he will be absolutely superb from now on.
Yeah, he's total class, and I think that's why we got third place last season with his header.
I think that we got those 3 points, and for me, it was the two youngsters that they played at the back in front of him. Had they put them in right in the beginning, yes, of course, we would have lost a few games, but not as many as we did when we. Not many points we would have lost if we stuck the two midfield players in Henderson and Fabinho.
Yeah, we tinkered
centre half.
Yeah, we tinkered around too much.
Yeah, well, of course, yes, he had to. He looked for the strength of the senior players, and I'm going to tell you that they're no patch on Graham Souness as a senior player, because that man was the finest player that I've ever played with in my life, and he could fit in any position and play, if not better than the people that were there.
Yeah.
Hard man as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to cross him.
Well, he's mellowed these days.
Yeah, he is. So.
Sitting next to Roy Keane, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd mellow that much.
Yeah.
But again, absolute honour and a privilege to have you on. You have. This is like a dream come true for me. Lifelong fan. Grew up out, over there. Got me granddad to tell me the good old stories, and I've seen you at Anfield many, many times, and now to have you on this podcast is another tick off my list.
Well, Darren, thank you very much for the invite. I'm sorry it took a little long, but the reasons from Steve.
Yeah.
All the very best, and we'll see. We'll let you go and watch the MLS now.
The U.S. men's national team. But anyway,
the U.S. versus Canada.
Yeah. Hey, Bruce, we'll see you in Austin soon. We'll make arrangements. Okay. Cheers.
Okay.